and welcome back to Homestead Corner. Today, I've got the best pantry staples to stock up on right now. Winter is coming, and we need to be ready for that when it gets here. We want to make sure that our pantries are bursting at the seams and we have as much as we possibly can. With inflation, all the stuff that's going on in the world, we need to be ready. It can happen here just as well as anywhere else. And we really need to be looking at gas prices. We've seen a good rise over the last couple of months. It keeps creeping back up. And over the winter, it's only going to get worse. And it's going to make things more and more difficult. We've had quite a few failed crops this year across the nation and around the world. The weather has been completely insane. We saw the wettest summer we've had in a super long time, and we all need to be ready for this as it approaches. So making sure our pantries are full is one way to help combat that inflation and the low stock in the stores. In addition to emergencies and things of that nature, we also need to be prepared for job loss, sicknesses. There are all sorts of things that can go wrong. The supply chain crisis has never really been fixed. If you look at the stores, you can see things are still mostly fronted and there's lots of empty space in the back. There is obviously more than when everything got wiped out, but there's still issues and we still find ourselves looking for things. Sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. So making sure we have as much as we can at home so we're prepared for when the things we need aren't there is going to help us in the long run. So we want to make sure that our families are prepared for any type of situation or most types of situations that can come up. And one of the ways to do that is making sure our pantries are prepared. And doing an inventory right now, we love to do inventory a couple times a year just to make sure. I try to write everything down as soon as I open any kind of new item, but I miss them sometimes. We all do. We get busy, we forget to write it down. Things happen. You may have a open slot or missing a couple of items that really are things that you use all the time. So doing an inventory right now is really important, and making sure we've got all those staples that are so important to our families. But just because it's on someone's list, don't buy it. Buy the things that your family likes. Adjust your list to what's going to work for your family. I think that is so important. So I've put a list together of some important items that I think are the best things to stock up on right now, just so we know we're prepared for all of these situations as things come up in our areas and over the winter. Anything can happen at any time, and we want to be ready. So let's jump into this list. So the first thing on my list is beans and lentils. Either one or the other, both if you like them. I think they are super important. We like to buy dried beans. I can them up in large batches and put them in the pantry so we have ready to eat beans, because beans take a long time to cook. Lentils are quite a bit quicker to cook. They only take about 15 to 25 minutes depending on the lentil. Red lentils cook a lot quicker than your brown and green lentils, but any of them that you like are okay. You know, they all have a good amount of protein, just like a bean, and are very important for a staple in your pantry. The next thing is flours, wheat berries that you can grind, things like that, things you can turn into flour. Making sure you have plenty of that on hand. I don't know if you noticed, but the cost of bread is really crazy at the store. And we've been making more and more of our breads at home so we can save in that area. The next thing is fats and oils. Those are really important in our diet. Olive oil, coconut oil, lard, avocado oil, those are going to last the longest in your pantry. Any kind of oil that you like to cook with is important to have, But those 4 oils definitely have a good long shelf life for your pantry and are really important to have for when you can't find them or they are just too expensive to purchase. Rices and pasta are another thing to keep in your pantry to make sure you've got the carbs. A lot of people eat low carb diets, but when you have got to do a lot of physical activity, let's say the grid went down and you've got to do a lot more work than you're used to doing, you're going to want those carbs for the energy. And your body will just chew right through them. It's not going to make you gain tons of weight. Lots of pastas and rices can be very good in your diet, just to help keep that amount of calorie intake up in an emergency situation when you've got to do that extra work. We like to make sure we have it, and your rice with your beans is going to make a complete protein, so your body can be sustained. So if those are the only 2 things you have, cooking them together is perfect for emergency situations. Another thing we find really important in our pantries are broth and bouillon. We like to keep like chicken broth, beef broth, vegetable broth, all those things in our pantry, but I also keep bouillon because when the broth runs out, they take up a lot of space. Bouillon takes up very little space. It can be mixed with water and it's ready in an instant pretty much. We love keeping both of those in the pantry, and I think they're really important. They really add a lot of flavor and nutrients to your foods. The next thing is honey and sweeteners, whatever kind of sweetener you like. We like to keep honey and maple syrup because they're not going to go bad. They're going to last in your pantry. And whatever sweetener you prefer, I think is good to keep in the pantry as well. And having that honey and maple syrup as backups is great. Rolled oats and quick oats are another thing great for the pantry. They are pretty affordable still, and like your quick cooking oats can be used. You don't even have to cook them, just soak them in water or milk to make overnight oats or something like that. We use oats in a lot of breads and muffins and things like that to up the nutrients in it. We really like to have a good supply in the pantry. Vinegar is another must-have in the pantry. You want to make sure that you've got white vinegar and apple cider vinegar. The apple cider vinegar has such a nice tang to it and really can beef up a dish. And we love white vinegar for cleaning and multi-purpose items. And you can even use vinegar in your hair. It will strip out all that stuff from your shampoos and conditioners that builds up in your hair, and you will be amazed at how soft and shiny your hair is after you do that. It really is wonderful to have it in the pantry, and you can preserve food with it, clean with it, just the list goes on. There's so much that you can use vinegar for, and we like to keep both kinds, apple cider and white vinegar. Another absolute must-have in the pantry is salt and spices. You want to have plenty of spices. When you get down to just those dry pantry goods, they are very, very bland. But having your spices, you can mix them up so many different ways. We keep buckets. I've made a video on a spice bucket. If you don't have one, I'll put a link up here so you can check that out. Just having a good variety of spices in your pantry is so important. So if all you've got is rice and beans and oats left, you can mix them up so many different ways and fight against food fatigue, which can be a big problem in an emergency situation. Another thing I think is so important is coffee. You got to have coffee. I love to have a cup of coffee in the morning, and most of the time I like to have coffee all day long. I love to drink coffee. It helps keep me going. I like the flavor of it. I also keep instant coffee in the pantry. Not my favorite thing, but ground coffee and coffee beans have a lot of oil in them, so they only last so long. And keeping that instant coffee, a good supply of that, it'll be there when you need it, and instant coffee isn't going to go bad. Another great staple that I think is a must in the pantry and a good supply of it is peanut butter or nut butters. If you can't eat peanut butter, you can have other nut butters, and they have a good source of protein as well. So making sure we've got those, and those can be put into so many different things. that it really gives a good variety to your pantry. You can add to so many different things with peanut butter, or you can just eat it from a spoon if you need to. And one more thing that we think is really important is shelf-stable snacks that your family enjoys. Having those on hand. In an emergency situation, it is really important to have a little something special. We keep hard candies, chocolates, a few different kinds of snacks. I like to bake snacks and things like that. We make all kinds of stuff from our pantry staples, which is nice. But having those shelf-stable snacks can be a morale booster in a tough situation and just help get you through. And the kids especially really enjoy, if they have a favorite cracker or something like that, we try to keep that stocked up in the pantry. So we've got it for the kids. So in an emergency, they're not going to lose everything all at once that they're used to having. Their diet may completely change. I'm going to be able to give them that little piece of normalcy when everything else seems like it's upside down. So I think these are the best pantry staples to keep in your pantry and stock up on right now, making sure we have all of these things in the pantry. Of course, you want to have, proteins and vegetables and fruits and things like that. But these staples can really make so many different things that you can mix it up and have good nutritious food in your pantry. So when an emergency happens, you're going to be prepared. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you next time. Bye.